It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. So I'm going to start by telling you the story of two boys that I got to meet a couple of years ago. The first one is named Patrick, and this is little Patrick. This is a photo, I think, from the very first time that I met him. And Patrick then had the chance to invite me to his home, and this is his home. And so he lives here with his mother, who is HIV positive because she's a survivor of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. And he lives here with his little sister. And he, of course, is responsible for providing food to both that mom and that little sister. So what does a kid like Patrick do? Patrick goes onto the street every day and tries to find something, somehow, I don't even know how, to bring back to his family. But how often do you think he's successful at that? Obviously through no fault of his own. So then after some time, how do you keep going back to your mom and your sister and you have nothing to give them? So you just end up staying on the street. And after a few days, after a few months, after a few years, you're a street kid. And that's the vision, that's the role that we found Patrick in. And then Patrick heard that there's this organization that offers dance classes, of all things, dance classes. But Patrick, who's just hanging out on the street all day anyway, likes to dance. And so he starts coming to these dance classes. And this is Patrick in the front. This is several months after he was in class, because I have to tell you, he was not that good when he started dance class. He was actually the worst in the entire class. He has, to be perfectly honest, since he's not here, I feel okay telling you, zero talent for dance. This is not going to be the future of this kid's life. But he loves it. And he kept coming to class, and he got better. He got a lot better. And here he is at the front of class. And then there's another kid that I met at the same time. His name is Pasi. Pasi's story starts the same way. So another depressing photo to show you. This is where Pasi lives. It's okay that you can't even see it well, because that's basically all there is to see, is a piece of cement, where he lives with 30 other boys, all of whom are street boys, again in Rwanda. But Pasi and Patrick are not the same. This is also Pasi on your right, and Pasi is probably the most talented singer I've ever seen in Rwanda. He's so talented that some music agency found him and asked him if he would make a music video for them. But here's this kid who doesn't go to school, who just lives on the street, and he's making music videos. I'm going to show you like 30 seconds of his music video, because it amazes me. My dream is to one day sing like Pasi. I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, so then 2017. So we fast forward a few years. So now where are Patrick and Pasi? So Pasi, who's now on your left, was following this amazing singing career, but never went to school, never had a chance to go in a program or anything like that. Well, after some time, he's not that cute singer anymore. So he basically is just living on the street, addicted to drugs. He now has 2 girls, 2 babies from 2 different women that he's slept with, and he's never gone to school. This is Passy's life, and he's now 21. This is Patrick. Patrick was this kid who was not talented in dance, but wanted to keep coming to this space, wanted to keep coming to this class, wanted to keep feeling like he was getting better, that there was someone there for him to watch him get better, to help him get better. And he worked so hard that we gave him a scholarship to go to school. He just graduated primary school last year, and now he's on full scholarship to study at the secondary school level in Rwanda. So my question to you today is, why these two boys who came from the same circumstances, why are their lives different today? Why is Patrick a success and Passy will need society to help him for the rest of his life? What is the difference here? So what makes it so that a child who's out of school all of a sudden has the dream to go to school, the will to go to school, goes to school, stays in school, and finishes school? How does that happen? And the argument that I would like to make is that there's something, some bridge, some transition that happens from the day that you're on the street to the day that you go to school and are given that opportunity that make you successful at that. But without some path, there's no way for you to move forward in your life and you get left behind. So what is this bridge? What is this transition that we can help these kids follow to take them to a place where they can become independent and self-sufficient? What is that? And then, let's say that we do know the answer. Let's just pretend we all know the answer, and you're just not telling me, but you know the answer. Why do we care? So I just told you the story of Patrick and Passy, but you're never going to meet Patrick and Passy. I could have put up the photo of any two kids and told you the same story. Like, really? Like, I know that you're happy that Patrick graduated school, but did your life just change because I told you that? You know, you feel sad for Passy, I feel sad for Passy, but did my life change because Passy's never going to go to school? So do we actually care, even if there is a solution? How many kids in the world don't go to school today? How many out-of-school youth are there in the world? How many Passys? 263 million kids don't go to school today. So maybe we don't care, because we're the ones sitting in this room, we're the ones sitting in an academic institution, but there's 263 million kids who never had the chance that we have. How many 15 to 17-year-olds don't go to school today? 15 to 17-year-olds. What percentage do not go to school? 60%. There's more 15 to 17-year-olds who don't go to school than go to school. Like, to me, like, when I read the statistic, and it's a recent statistic, it's 2016, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I thought, when I was 15 years old, what would I be doing if I wasn't going to school? The whole way that my brain thinks that I function is based on the fact that I had a schedule when I was 15 years old. My alarm went off, I didn't want to get up, but I still got up, I went to school, I showed the teacher my homework, you know, I did a test, I came home, I knew I had to do homework, then I had to eat because I had to go to sleep, because I had to go to school the next day. Like, this whole structure as to how I function and, you know, how I move forward and how I then finish school and then I have a task to do and then I get graded on it. Like, everything I think was informed by school. Like, there's no way I could be standing up here right now having this conversation with you if I didn't go to school when I was 15 years old. But yet, that's the minority. So maybe we don't care about the Passys and Patricks, but I think we can assume that our lives are affected by these statistics and by the number of kids who don't go to school. Because, like, well, I'm going to explain to you a little bit more why I think this, but I'm going to show you a video that it's like 10 seconds and it looks like nothing. Once again, a video that looks like nothing. But I think you'll get the sense of why I'm showing you this little video. So that's it. Like, if I had to describe this, I would tell you that this is nothing. I just told you that this is nothing. But this is not nothing. This is a refugee camp called Kakuma in Kenya that I had the chance to visit 10 days ago. So here, this is where these kids are who don't go to school. They're sitting here. Where is that? I don't even know how to describe that to you. That's why I'm showing you the video. So if I'm a 15-year-old who lives here, and I'm going to live here for the rest of my life, and then somebody tells me, you know, there's this cause you can join. There's this thing where, you know, we get together and, you know, we share our feelings and we have a common cause that we fight for. And when you come, we give you food, you know, and we become the family that you don't have anymore. Come to this. I would go. And I would like hold on to that as tight as I could for hope, for a feeling of security. Well, in Kakuma, that's radicalization. That is al-Shabaab. That is the seeds of ISIS. But if I was that 15-year-old, that's what I would be doing. That would be my family. That would be the reason I would get up tomorrow. So if we know that radicalization can provide what we can't provide through education, then doesn't it make it our responsibility, or at least our problem, to try to figure out what to do with these 263 million kids that are going to grow up and have to find some alternative? And that's why I would argue that it is our problem and that it does matter to us. Not because we're altruistic, not because we're going out to save the world, but because that affects our own safety. It affects the safety of the kids' lives that you'll have one day. The problem is too big and too huge for us to think it's over there. So maybe we can make the assumption that we want to create Patricks and not Passies. So if we make that assumption, then what are we going to do? We still have a problem, right? We still have to now solve this problem. So I don't have a solution for you today, but I have a glimpse into a methodology that we've used. And the premise of that has been that kids don't go to school or they don't stay in school because they lack some basic learning skills. You know, those things that are often happening when you're growing up in a normal environment, which can't happen when you're in a refugee camp, then you lack some sort of social emotional learning and cognitive development that you need to go forward in life. So what does that mean? Like, okay, a lack of sufficient cognitive development. What is that? Well, I think that you're going to help me answer it. So what I need is 4 volunteers. Oh, great, thank you so much. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, we're getting stuck at 3. How about this side of the room? 4, thank you. Okay, wonderful. You can come stand forward here. Our fantastic 4 volunteers. Thank you so much. Okay, all I need you to do is to make up a pose or a movement, something really, really simple, anything you want. Like it could be like this, it could be like a little jump, something really simple, anything you want. Go for it. Okay, great. Let's all do it, all 5 of us. Ready? And go. No, we have to do her movement. Don't worry, you'll get your chance for your movement. Here, okay, great. So this is movement 1, okay? Let's all relax. I'll go 5, 6, 7, 8, and on 1, we do your movement. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Beautiful, so beautiful. What is your move? It has to be different than hers.
Okay.
Okay, Superman move. Okay, let's all do his move. And go. This is number 2. So let's do 1 and 2. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. Excellent. Okay, your move, miss. Okay, we're gonna keep this one. Okay, let's all do her move. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, and your move. Okay, excellent ending. 4. Here we go, all 4 together. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh, 4. Oh no. Okay. Let's try one more time, a little bit slower. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to reverse. So we're going to do 4 again. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, can we do 1, 2, 3, 4? 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. So good that you have to do it with music.
So give me that.
Yeah, there you go. See? 5, 6, 7, 8. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 3, 2, 1. So good that now the two of you switch spots. Okay. So now we have 4, 3, 2. 1, 3, 2, 4. 4, 2, 3, 1. 5, 6, 7, 8. Go. Good. And now reverse. Uh-oh, one more time. 5, 6, 7, 8. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 1. Good. Now the two of you switch spots. And now turn around.
This way?
Yeah.
This way?
Starting. Starting from here. Uh-huh. You ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Go. 3, 2, 1. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Yes, good. Good. You have to stay here. And so good. So good that I'm sure all of you who are here enjoying this wonderful performance were also doing it in your minds too. So can everybody now stand up? Uh-oh. So you're not the only ones that have to suffer. Okay, what was her pose? Everybody, good. Everybody do her pose. And what was her pose? Good. And what was his pose? And what was her pose? Good. Okay, so whose pose did we first do first? Good. Let's reorder it. Go back to your original spot. Who was next? What pose was next? Good. Yes. And then what pose was next? This one. Good. And what pose was last? Okay, so good that now turn and face someone next to you. You two are partners, and you two are partners. Okay, we're going to start by shaking hands. Everybody can do that. Shake hands with your partner. Okay? Tell your partner any word at all. Let's be appropriate. Choose appropriate words. Any word at all in a different language. Teach your partner that word in a different language.
Boho, it sounds Spanish.
Okay, arrivederci. That's goodbye in Italian.
Okay, so now when you shake hands, you say that new word. Both of you say it together. Now, beautiful. I hope you did it. Okay. Now, after you do that, add your second word and shake hands. The other person. Okay, did everybody do it? Or is everyone pretending to do it? Okay. Okay, now, after you do that, you've said your two new words. Now, with your partner, make up a pose. Any pose you want.
Do we have to keep holding it?
No, you can do anything you want, okay? 5 seconds. Come up with your pose with your partner. Like the end of a dance pose. Nice. Okay, I'm going to say 5, 6, 7, 8, and you do your pose. 5, 6, 7, 8, your pose. Again. 5, 6, 7, 8, your pose. Good. Okay, now shake hands, pose. 5, 6, 7, 8. Speaking in a foreign language, pose. Excellent, so good. So now let's do it from the beginning. So we start with 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn to your partner. Foreign language, pose. Pose. Do you get it? Okay, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Shake hands, pose. So good that you have to do it with music. Everybody ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shake hands, pose. Good. One last time. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shake hands, pose. Yeah, good. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. Everybody can sit down. So good. You're all professional dancers. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was a common characteristic at Mercer. Okay. So now after your beautiful performance, can you tell me what are some of the mental skills you had to use to do what you just did? Humility. Recall. What else? Pattern recognition. Good. What else? Listening. Sequencing. Good. Different languages. Language. Good. What about when you make up your own pose? Creativity. Thank you. What about the people who were brave enough to volunteer? Okay, so Mind Leaps, my organization, has focused on 7 skills that we can practice and develop through movement. So you already guessed most of them. So memorization, okay, so some of you were better than others. Grit, okay, everybody in this room tried. Congratulations, okay. Often we have people give up really quick. So grit is like perseverance or motivation. How easily do you give up, or how much do you push through even when it gets difficult? Teamwork, okay, really good teamwork in this room, I have to say, very good teamwork. Also a Mercer principal, I see. Discipline, okay, so sometimes when we work with younger kids, it's just kind of screaming and nothing is happening, but all of you followed directions very well. Self-esteem or courage, creativity, and then language acquisition. So these are the 7 principles of Mind Leaps, or the 7 skills that we tie back to movement patterns. And these are the skills that we worked with educators and psychologists to determine if we could improve these skills in kids like Patrick and Pasi, then when they go to school, there's a better chance that they will stay in school and do well in school. So that's what essentially became Mind Leaps. So here's Patrick again. So Patrick, as I told you, is not a good dancer, although he got better. But what we were interested in working with Patrick is, could we motivate him to keep coming back to that class? Okay? And the way that we did that was by being really positive and encouraging. So that just the fact that Patrick came to class today was a success. And he knew that. And that's why he wanted to keep coming, because for the first time in his life, somebody was saying, good job, Patrick, you showed up. Okay? And then over time, like when he started to learn how to do the splits, of course, like nobody likes to learn how to do the splits. It's really painful. But you feel that you're getting better, okay? And when you feel like, okay, this is difficult, but I'm getting better and I can keep pushing, and now I'm starting to become better than other kids, and now I can teach other kids how to do the splits, this is now grit. So even though it was really difficult for him, he's not giving up anymore. And that's what we need to know before we send a kid to school. Because when he goes to school, it's going to be more difficult again. But can he fight through knowing that if he keeps going, it will get better? And that's the skill that we're actually demonstrating through the dance classes. Not whether or not he can do the splits or not, but can he keep pushing even when it gets difficult? So these are principles that, yeah, I mean, Mind Leaps can't take credit for this. This is a big body of research that talks about self-control, grit, conscientiousness, that these are the skills that if we can develop these in youth, they can perform better in school. Mind Leaps had the opportunity to work with researchers from Carnegie Mellon University and Drexel University to create this system. So we could see as dance teachers inside the studio that kids like Patrick were changing. And we could see it and we could feel it, but we couldn't explain to you why that is, or how much that is, or like, Patrick is better? Like, what's better mean? So these researchers sat with us for about 3 years in Rwanda and helped us create a system. Each of those 7 skills that we talk about, we now rank between 1 and 7 in each dance class. And the ranking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for each skill is tied to the execution of movement that we see. So for example, like if we look at grit, okay, when a kid comes to take a Mind Leaps dance class, if they give up right away, okay, they score a 1. If they can make it through a certain number of movements in our class or a certain amount of time in the class, then they can score higher. And then eventually we get to a point where we see kids practicing on their own before class, after class, coming to teachers and asking them questions about movement. Like an extraordinary amount of extra effort put in, which we rank as 7. And these researchers helped us to create what's a Likert scale for each of these 7 skills so that we could consistently see in different kids in different countries how those skills change over time. Then after we could see these patterns, we wanted a way to record it on a regular basis. So then these researchers from Carnegie Mellon teamed up with software engineers to build a data application system. So now if you were a trainer at Mind Leaps, you would have literally an Android app where you could log in to Tracker, which is the name of our application, and record with the kids that you teach those scores on those 7 skills each day. And then when you find a Wi-Fi signal, which sometimes can take days, but when you find it, you press sync, and that information goes up, and it gets organized onto a web portal that then you as like Mercer University can log on and see, how do the Mind Leaps kids perform in teamwork? How does Patrick look at self-esteem today? And we can look at these changes to understand the development of the child. How much more improvement do they need? Or have they already reached a point where we see emotional regulation and the readiness to move forward? So Mind Leaps was really fortunate to be able to combine this more scientific side with what we could organically see in order to create a system that now we can copy and replicate. This is data from a group of street kids that we have in Rwanda. It's actual data. So the blue line is the actual collection of information for 15 street kids who followed our program for 20 weeks. X is our time axis. And then the red line is the fit line. On the y-axis, we have that Likert scale, which is from 1 to 7. And as you can see, we don't take kids from 0 to 7. We don't have that kind of impact. But what we can show is a measurable change over about 12 weeks in the program. And this is information that all of us use, especially talking to development people, to realize, like, how do we run our program effectively? So I shouldn't be saying it because I'm being videotaped. We thought our program had impact for a year, for 12 months. And then we collected data for 2 years on thousands of kids and realized actually the program should be a 3-month program, not a 12-month program. And this is the kind of information that's not just useful to share to other people and say, like, look, we have impact, look at the graph. But for us to figure out how do we really work in the field most effectively to change those kids' lives as fast as possible. They've already lost so much time. We need to be as efficient as possible to catch them up to their peers. And this is the power of putting the science behind our work. So now that's how we ended up with Mind Leaps, which is an organization I run. And Mind Leaps attracts kids in different countries and different places around the world to these safe spaces through dance classes. So working in places where kids love to dance. Dance itself is the reason that they're coming. But then when they come there, what we're actually interested in is doing exactly what you did tonight, is doing different exercises to develop the mental skills. And then we invest in them and we sponsor them to go to school so that their lives can permanently change. And we can be sure that when that child goes to school, he's now ready to go to school and he'll stay in school and he'll graduate and he'll become a Patrick for us, not a Pasi. So I'm going to now show just a short 3-minute video that summarizes a little bit of what I've told you with a visual, and also a little bit about how all of this came to be.
In 2008, I had already been running a dance company in Philadelphia for 3 years when I first set foot in Africa. I never intended to work in Africa. In fact, my company had just produced a ballet about the genocide in Darfur to raise awareness among Western audiences about mass atrocities. Our work was created for American audiences and performed by professional American dancers. But audience reaction was so strong to our ballet about Darfur that I couldn't resist the desire to understand my topic better. I didn't go to Darfur, but I did go to Rwanda. I went to understand how genocide can happen. But what I found was children everywhere dancing, children everywhere wanting the chance to study, children everywhere wanting to be part of the world. When I left, a child asked me a question. Why are you leaving when my life hasn't changed? It took me 3 years, a team of people, and a transformation of my company to find an answer to this child's question. My dance company could serve a different purpose, leveraging street children's love of dance to become their route back into society. Working with professionals from my original dance company, along with educators and social workers in Africa, and researchers from the United States, we created Mind Leaps. Mind Leaps now works in Rwanda, Guinea, and Bosnia-Herzegovina using dance to attract vulnerable children and out-of-school youth to our centers. Children slowly transition from a state of fight or flight to sustained periods of concentration and discipline. Implementing a software system built in partnership with Carnegie Mellon University, Mind Leaps teachers score and view the trends in cognitive development achieved through the dance program. When the data tells us that children have improved their basic learning skills, Mind Leaps helps these youth take the next step in life, entering formal education or the workplace. My answer to this child's question: we will not leave until you have an education or a job. With that, you have the key to the entire world.
So now I'm going to ask the question that I normally get asked, which is, how did you end up starting an organization like Mind Leaps? So I'm starting with my self-portrait. This shows my entire artistic experience. Okay, so as a little kid, as you probably have guessed by now, dance is the thing that I was hungry for. Dance has always been the thing in my life that's motivated me, the thing that's gotten me up every day to keep going, to keep moving forward. But dance for me, and kind of how I want to shape it for us, is like a tool, right? So for me, it's what I'm passionate about. It's now, after years, what I've become skilled at. And for me now, it has a purpose. But like, let's think about like the idea of tool in a different way, not a dance way. Like, let's imagine, it's the guild system that we all learned in high school, because we were probably fortunate enough to go to high school. And we're a shoemaker, okay? So a shoemaker makes shoes, right? So hopefully the shoemaker chose to make shoes because he likes shoes. Shoes is something that he thinks is cool and fun. Okay, and he's good at it, right? He makes a lot of shoes. Okay? He teaches other people how to make shoes. It's the guild system. And it's purposeful. I mean, for him, he sells shoes, he makes money, then he can support his family, and the shoe itself is utilitarian, right? We're all wearing shoes right now. So it's a tool, okay? That's what he does with his life, but it's serving all of these purposes. And so for me, that's how I think about dance. So dance is the thing that I want to do, right? I chose that because that's what I want to do in my life. Yeah, and then I worked hard and for many years to become skilled at it. I wasn't good at it. Yeah, but I wanted to become good at it. So I kept working at it and I eventually became good at it. But for me, the problem was like it didn't have a purpose, right? So, okay, I love it and now I'm good at it, but what good is dance? What am I going to do with dance now, right? What purpose does that have? And that's the challenge we find so many times with the performing arts and the humanities. And it took me a really long time to find that purpose. And you heard it referred to in this video. So for me, I was working as a choreographer. I was creating productions about social issues. And we made this ballet about the genocide in Darfur, based on this book, The Devil Came on Horseback, which was written by this US Marine named Brian Steidel. And the book talks about like how he was struggling with the job description to just record what was happening. And he was literally observing a genocide, and his job was to write reports about this. And so that frustration and this man's story is what we turned into a ballet. And going through that process with the dancers was really something difficult and something emotional for us. And then we would perform the ballet, and people would come up to me afterwards, because I was the choreographer, and say, I didn't know this was happening in the world. What do I do now to stop the genocide in Darfur? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I just read the book and I choreographed the work because it's a good story. And they were looking to me for an answer. And yet this was the purpose of it. We were now inspiring people to take action because of the arts, and I had no answer for them. So this is what changed the course of my life. So then I wanted to go and understand what happens in a post-genocide place. And that's what took me to Rwanda. And that's where I saw all of these kids, a generation after the genocide there, who loved dance, who loved the same thing that my whole life was supposed to be about. But what's there for them? What are they going to do with that? So that's ultimately how we got to what Mind Leaps is today. Is there's got to be some purpose for this thing that I love and that I'm good at, that other kids love, and that can be the hook for them back into society. And it was this process to find, how does this methodology, how does all of this data work? How does like this sequence of movements help your brain to figure out, this can be the purpose for me for dance and my tool. And now I know how to use the tool in a way that's helpful. And that's kind of how I like to think about dance, is it's about finding a purpose for the thing that you're good at, that you want to do anyway, but to place it in a context where it has other benefits. What I want to do now actually is show one other like 30-second little video, which is a new video from 10 days ago. So you remember this like crazy nothingness of this refugee camp I showed you in Kakuma. Well, this is also what I saw in Kakuma. So this guy here, his name is Alidos. So he's a 17-year-old Congolese refugee. And he lives here. This is his house in the camp. I don't remember exactly. I think he told me he's been living there for 7 years. And so he doesn't go to school because you actually have to pay this. I also learned this 10 days ago. You have to pay to go to school in a refugee camp. So how is this 17-year-old getting paid to go to school? So he doesn't go to school, but he loves music and dance. So he's now taken other kids who live in the camp who also can't afford to go to school, and he's created this little dance group with them. And this is just what he does. This is his dance troupe. And we literally stumbled across this walking through the refugee camp. So imagine if we could give this Alidos, this guy, the chance to change his life, all of the other lives that he would change. Or if he had the chance to give these kids a methodology that would allow them to go back to school and succeed in school. It doesn't take billions of dollars in international agencies and everybody around the world sitting here to come up with a solution. It's already happening in the world. But if we can figure out our skills, our passions, our talents, and put them in the right places, everything can change. When I stood there looking at Alidos, I was like it would be basically as easy as 20 minutes in my life in the world of Mind Leaps to change the trajectory of this kid's life. And there's those kids in all of the places that we work with the right match of skills and the people and the combinations that might get created to change these lives in a way that makes sense, in a way that's feasible for each of us, because we're already doing what we love. So I hope I've convinced you that it's not about the talent of being a born superstar like Pasi, but it's actually about the paths that we can create for the Patricks that can help us move forward all together. Thank you. Do you want me to?
Yeah. So Rebecca said she'd be glad to answer a few questions if you have some. So.
If not, I'm going to make you dance again. Yes.
So I'm thinking in terms of the kids you just showed who were dancing, they still don't have the money to get to school. So where is that element in Mind Leaps?
So in two ways. So in Mind Leaps, we run two holistic programs, one in Rwanda and one in Guinea-Conakry in West Africa. And there we take kids through our centers, and then we sponsor them to go to school. So if those kids were able to come to our center, they would have basically their full path taken out. The way that we're working in new countries now, Mauritania and Uganda and Kenya, with refugees, is what we're doing is we're taking kids like this Alidos to Rwanda, training them in our methodology, and then sending them back to the places where they come from to use that methodology and to collect that information to show that those kids now have the capacity to change. So it's in two different levels for us. Yeah.
But in other words, you have a foundation, you get donations.
Yeah, so Mind Leaps as an organization is organized as an NGO. So it's a not-for-profit organization registered in the US and then working internationally under subsidiaries. So yeah, it works like a foundation. We raise money to run programs in Rwanda and Guinea with our permanent staff at our own centers, and then also to hire trainers to go into these other countries and work through organizations there. So it's like a regular NGO. Yeah. Yeah. Yes?
How do you find it to implement,
So literally as advertising dance classes. So what we do is when we have a new cohort opening up, we tell the kids who are in the program now, okay, go tell your friends on the streets that new kids can join Mind Leaps. And then for 2 weeks, any kid at all who shows up is allowed to take Mind Leaps classes. And then after 2 weeks, we sit all kids down. And we say, now we're going to select kids to join the program. And if you want to join the program, you have to commit to coming 3 days a week at this particular time. Do you want to come? All kids raise their hands. And then we say, okay, but if you don't come, then we're going to give your spot to someone else. So it's already about the idea of this is responsibility. And then so the kids say, okay, we're all signing up. And the kids come, and then the first day a kid doesn't come, we take their spot away. And all of the other kids then learn, I have to show up, and I have to show up on time. And then we recruit, and then that's the next batch for 6 months, and then after 6 months we go again. So, but we work in countries where, because it's dance, kids want to come. And if dance wasn't interesting in the places where we work, it wouldn't work. Yeah. Okay.
Say a word, if you don't mind, about the criteria for the students that you're looking for.
So now that Mind Leaps is expanding, and we're working in multiple countries, we've been asked, like, well, who benefits from the Mind Leaps program, right? This is similar to your question. And there's certain characteristics where we have the biggest impact. So kids who don't trust anyone, and when you can kind of like start to imagine where they're coming from, you understand why you wouldn't trust anyone. So this element of distrust, I don't trust you, you don't trust hierarchy, we don't trust institutions, I'm not going to trust anyone because I've been burned, right? Those are the kids we want. Kids who have substance abuse, we literally watch these kids like detox through the physical rigor of the program. I've been telling Craig we don't understand why that happens because we're not medical people, but we can see it happening. So substance abuse. And then also the element of like hopelessness. Like, especially when we look at the refugee populations and these youth who are in these camps for years and years and years. Like they tell you, they're like, there's no point in me getting up tomorrow because my life is the same as yesterday and it'll be the same 2 months from now and 3 years from now and nothing will ever change, right? So this idea of hopelessness, those are also the kids that we want. And then this idea that I don't belong, right? So for whatever reason, this is why radicalization is so effective in these camp settings, is all of a sudden you do belong. All of a sudden you are part of something that has meaning. Those kids that just are always excluded are the kids that we want. Because the idea of bringing these kids into a safe space and them coming all together at a regular time creates an identity for them, their own identity. It is their family. It is their set of peers. Just like these 4 volunteers, right? Like in I don't know, the 3 minutes that you were here, you already bonded. That was your team, right? You wanted everyone in your team to remember the next pose, right? So, and now imagine if you were doing that for 6 months. Okay. So that idea of creating family identity and like confidence as a group is what we can do. So we look for all of these characteristics where those kids really need that and they lack that in their existing lives. Yeah.
Can I ask just a question about the train-the-trainer level, the second level? So I think you met with my colleague Natalie maybe earlier today.
I think I will be meeting with her at some point.
Okay, so we have a Mercer on Mission program where we work with an NGO that is a street child serving NGO.
Oh, great.
And the city where we work is in Tanzania, and it's the city of Mwanza, which is a very large, significant street child problem. So there's several NGOs, and my former research assistant is trying to start an NGO, and there's a lot of people who are trying to work on this particular issue. And I think of 10 people who would benefit from this, 10 people who are trying to start organizations that would benefit this. But and so immediately I thought of my former research assistant, Steve, who's been trying to get his own NGO off the ground. It's logistically really complicated. He has a couple of pop videos. He's been a research assistant. He's done a lot of things. He doesn't have tons of formal education. He finished Form 2, but go farther. And I think about, like, Steve would be a great trainer, but what are first of all, the logistics on how do you find those people? Yeah. And then once, let's say you take them to Rwanda and you educate them and you get them to understand the model and to use the Android app and to teach the logistics, what's the financial support for them when they go back to their home countries, given that so many of the other organizations, I mean, one thing if you've got a UNICEF connection or something, or you've got a UNHCR connection, but if you're working with a smaller NGO that itself is contingent on funding, like how does that not be the first thing that's cut?
Yeah, sure. So in Mauritania and Uganda and Kenya where we're working now, we're working through other organizations. So for example, this kid Ali Dos, he's connected to a local organization in Kakuma camp. So the way that Mind Leaps wants to do this is that we partner with SAVIX, which is that organization. SAVIX will work with UNHCR to send us Ali Dos to Kigali. And then Mind Leaps and SAVIX will jointly fund his program to start with our methodology when he goes back. So there still has to be a local organization. So in Tanzania, like this guy Steve, so Steve would still have to be attached to some NGO, and then My Needs would partner with that NGO to bring Steve to us, and then help Steve go back and start the program.
And then My Needs provides some support
Yeah.
to the local NGO.
Yeah.
They're not having to like.
Yeah, so what we like to call in the development world like technical assistance, which basically means we make sure that the program doesn't fall apart.
That's what I
Yeah.
because I mean, that's a real problem is that there's all sorts of training and development opportunities.
Yeah, but then it just goes like
And as
this.
soon as you're
Yeah.
back in the local setting, it's another budget line item, and it's the most recent one, so it goes away, even if it might be the most valuable.
Yeah, so there's like, and we totally agree with that. So there's like two pieces of it. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to build the app, right? Because like, what if you go back and you say you're running the program, we think you're running the program, we're funding you to run the program, but then there's no data, right? Then we already know on our own assessment, and like we can also see like who's recording the data and when it's getting sunk. Is it all just being recorded in the same like hour for the last 3 months, or was it actually recorded daily, right? So all of those things that we can test for quality assurance. But then also, yeah, having the vetting of the local partnership to make sure that when we send financial resources to that local organization that we know it's going to get filtered into the program. Yeah, so I mean, that's also why I was complaining to Craig that I'm traveling so much, is because you don't know unless you go, right? So there has to be that kind of face-to-face interaction before the partnership can be built. And with My Needs Rwanda and My Needs Guinea, we have our own like My Needs staff that we fund full time, so it's a lot easier for us. But with the partnership model, we can go into new places and we can reach deeper into those communities, but we still have to have a local partner. Yeah, yeah. So if Steve has a local partner, I should talk to him. Yes.
I was wondering, dancing is physically rigorous, as you mentioned, and a lot of these kids come from circumstances where they might not have enough food to teach. So I was wondering if you encountered that situation and what emphasis that you offer.
Yeah. Yeah, so in My Needs Rwanda and My Needs Guinea, we have a full-fledged meal program, which is difficult to fund. Yes, and then in the partner organizations, it's one of the conversations that we have with a new organization is who's providing the food, and if it's My Needs, how much is it going to cost, and can we commit to that or not? And if it's the local organization, is that a regular food supply that you have funded, or is that just food supplies that you have right now because we're standing here? Yeah. It's interesting. So in My Needs Rwanda and My Needs Guinea, we purposefully run our dance program for the first 2 weeks without giving the kids food, because we don't want to turn it into you show up and you get food and then you just think you can show up forever like that. It's driven on the fact that if you come and you come on time and you come for a consistent number of days, then you get rewarded for that. So then we start the meal program. In the partnership organizations, especially when looking at the camp settings, like you have to provide food, because otherwise it's like, it would be like health-wise, I think, borderline whether or not you can even ask the kids to do that. But in our programs where we can control the situation, then we tie it to the performance of the kids so that they already understand this idea of meritocracy.
Well, Rebecca, maybe I'll just stand up here just a bit if you've got other questions. One of the things I hope that you've received from tonight that, again, impressed me back in November, she's a dancer. And she's using that to make a difference in the world. And whatever it is that your major is, or your passion is, or your vocation is, if you want to turn that into something to make a difference in the world, you can. And so whatever major you are, at Mercer we say we major in changing the world. And so thank you for being here tonight. I wish you would express again vigorously your applause.
Thank you.